Hey everyone, welcome back to Love and Pieces. Thanks for joining my channel. I have been working on a few last minute Christmas presents, and today it is a tied fleece blanket. So I'm actually not on my couch or in my craft room. I'm in the bedroom where I had room to spread it out. And my fabulous husband is serving as my tripod for the moment because I can't film this with one hand. So very quickly, I want to show you how I'm tying these knots on the knotted fleece blanket, and then I'm going to talk about a couple other things I've learned as I've gone around. So I watched several YouTube videos, and there's different ways. This is what became the easiest so that you get this nice, if you'll scoot that back to see that knot. There you go. You get this nice trim that kind of lays in one direction, and you can choose if you want the top side laying up or the bottom side to show. I kind of like the top side. So this is what I've been doing. I take the strip of fleece, and these are 1 inch. I wrap it around 2 of my fingers, and I just keep it flat. So I'm making kind of a flat loop knot. Then I slip this edge underneath, and I kind of let it go for a second and let it rest. When I do that, I'm grabbing the tail underneath with the part I want to show up on the top, and then I'm kind of grabbing the top part of the knot and pulling it up a little bit before I start trying to tighten it down. That gives a real nice lay to the knot, and it also finishes off this so you don't have a lot of bulk or wrinkles here in the edges. So that's just how I'm choosing to tie the knots, and I wanted to share a couple tricks I've learned with you on the way around this quilt. So I'm going to take the camera from my husband. Thank you, baby.
You're welcome.
And I'm just going to share kind of what I did. This is 2 3-yard pieces of fleece. There's 3 yards of the tie-dyed and 3 yards of the purple. Now, I came to my bed because it's the only place I had big enough to roll all this out. And so I put one of my quilts upside down so I'd have this nice white, go on, Binks. No help is needed. So I'd have this nice white background to work against and not fight against the red, white, and blue quilt that we've got on our bed underneath. So that's just the tip. If you need a space, go to your bed, but give yourself some kind of neutral background to work against so you can see what your bottom layer is. I laid the top piece out. Well, no. This piece, which I'm calling the top, which is the tie-dyed, it goes face down on your bed, and you spread it out and you get it real smooth. Then you come behind and you lay out the next piece face up. So it's so that when you're done, both faces are facing out, bottom and top. It's a little awkward, but if you've done these, you know. And then I spread it as far as I could down to the head of the bed. It was longer than my bed was. So I just kind of spread it as smooth as I could up towards the headboard and kind of just getting it all smooth. And I started here at the foot of the bed. You can see there's like some of the scraps that the cats have already grabbed and played with, where I had to just trim off the edge. Now, I trimmed off the non-selvage edge just to make them even. But then you have to trim the selvage edge because that finishing piece that they do when they make this fabric is kind of hard and scratchy, and it's just not very appealing. So I did trim off, I just looked at the 2 pieces to see which one had the wider selvage. And there's usually like a band where they've chemically or heat bound the fibers, and then there's usually some dots. Those are like the pinholes where the fabric rolls along the wheels and it's being pulled in the manufacturing process. Those are a fairly good indicator of where that selvage really stops. So I just looked for the dots, which set of dots was on the furthest in, and then I just cut both pieces along that same line. The reason this side wound up on top is because the dots on the purple were the furthest in, so I wanted it on top so I could see my line, if that makes sense. I did make myself a template. Let me pull this over here. I just got a piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. I wanted something fairly thick. I drew my lines 1 inch apart and 5 inches long, and I made a template. Now, one of the tips I saw on another YouTube channel was don't just cut between the pieces. Cut out a little like border or column there. So I drew it with a Sharpie marker, and then I cut up one side of the Sharpie marker and up the other side of the Sharpie marker so that it gave me a gap in between. And that was real nice for my scissors to fit through. Then to start off, you've got your corner, and you cut out a 5-inch corner piece here. And I should have filmed that, but I didn't. I just measured 5 inches and cut it. And then that gives you kind of this piece like you saw in the beginning, where you have your fabric here with a gap in between. That lets your two corners lie smooth and even when you come to those corners. So that's why you cut out a 5-inch square. I use this template like it showed on YouTube for probably the first 3 or 4 sets of these cuts. You line this edge up with the edge of your fabric, and then you just cut up to the top. What happened was it just was kind of awkward to try to get right in there. It was slowing me down. I was beginning to cut my template. It basically just kind of got in my way. So I figured a different way to use it. What I did, let me get these laid back out so it's kind of smooth. Sorry. I had my fabric all smoothed out, and first I laid the template against my edge like this and found kind of where my top mark was. And I just held my finger there and I scooted this up where the edges of it lined up with it. I came down as far as the template went, and I measured from this edge down to my cut edge down here before it was cut, 5 inches to make sure I had this straight. Okay, so then when I cut, I was just cutting, like looking at these guidelines and cutting up in between. And you can see they're not perfect, but once you tie them, you can't tell, and it moved a lot faster. Like I said, this is a 3-yard piece of fabric or quilt or blanket, however you want to call it. And it's taken me about 3 hours to do it, to get all the way around. Now, when I cut as far as I could with it laid out, I did the bottom edge and then the 2 sides, cut as far as I could, and then I rolled it, and that's what you can see here. I rolled it up so that I didn't mess with the middle. It was all still nice and flat. Here come the cats. And rolled it, and then I could cut a little bit more, and I was left with just this little part. So what I did was I took the roll, which had been down here at the foot, and just put it onto this edge, this side of the bed, so that I had my edge over here to work on again and finish off the edge. Then I'm left, got that other side done right there. And I just had a little bit here, and I thought, why couldn't I have filmed some of this? And as I thought about that on this last side, and I thought, well, I don't have my tripod in here. I couldn't do it one-handed. This would be a really wonky video, but wonky is my theme. So I decided to bring my husband in here and make him become my tripod for just a minute. So that's getting me to one of the tips that I did not see on any of the YouTube videos, but that I learned too late to adjust for this quilt, but I'll know it for next time. When you're cutting on this, on the non-selvage ends, you don't have as much stretch. So you do need 5 inches. You do need your strips to be 5 inches long to get enough to tie it and pull it and have enough of a tail that it won't unravel. But here on the sides, because you get a lot more stretch with it, I would have, if I had known that or started this way, I probably would have only cut my side strips, my selvage sides, to 4.5, maybe even just 4 inches, because if I'm not careful when I'm tying them, if I pull too tight and really get on that stretch, these are coming out longer. You can see from knot to end. These are coming out longer than the other ones by maybe 1/2 inch or so. It doesn't seem like much, but if you can save 1/2 inch on each side, that's an inch that you're putting back into the blanket. And as you wash this and it's used and people play with it, they're going to pull on this, and these are just going to get longer and longer. So that's the tip that I wanted to share. And also the tip about the template. Like I said, I got the idea for the template off of a YouTube video. I don't remember which one. I watched several to try to figure out how to do this. But they all cut up in between, like used it as a true template that you cut in between. I used it just kind of as a guide so that I could see where my marks were, and I just would cut and aim towards them and kind of know how far apart to go. So there's my tips for doing a tied fleece blanket. It's kind of a last minute Christmas present that I'm doing for someone. And hopefully this gave you some tips on how to do one yourself. They're great gifts, wonderful in the wintertime, just perfect to curl up with on the couch and get all snuggly. So I hope you have a great day. I hope you are creative, and I hope you're nice to people. Bye.